So at what point do at what point do you realize that something's going on with your health?
Oh, I'd say probably we were in Georgia. Well, I kind of knew in Alaska when I went to with this course for NCOs, the leadership course, and I was running. We have to do what's called a PT test, physical training test. And I was running. I realized something's wrong with my arm. It's not working, and it kind of went away, so I didn't think anything of it. And then, fast forward a few years later, I was in I was in Georgia and I was getting ready PCS to go. I was getting ready for a force deployment to Afghanistan. I was supposed to go to Lewis, and I was getting ready to go, and I noticed I started running. I was running one day there, and I realized something's wrong with my arm, and it stopped working right. It wasn't working right, and then I started getting seeing doctors, and that's when they started looking at me.
And what did you learn? Like when they first started doing tests and stuff, what did you learn?
They really didn't know what was going on. They tested me for ALS, Lou Gehrig's
MS.
disease, MS, everything that you could think of with spinal tap, all these tests. And uh, one day I went to a doctor and I was sitting in the room. He's like, I believe you got Parkinson's. And I told him to shut the,
He called me and he's like, I was actually
I
in the
wasn't even
middle.
sure what it was at the
Yeah,
time. I just knew it was bad. I was like, get the hell out of here.
he actually called me. I was in the middle of doing a your client at the time, so my brain was half with him and half with my client. And he said, they think I have Parkinson's. This guy's crazy. I got to go see somebody else. And I think it was 3 or 4 doctors later that he finally accepted the fact that this is what I have. They all said the same thing.
So I like you, Joey. The day that your doctor calls you and tells you you have Parkinson's, you don't even know what the hell that is. I'm a guy who doesn't have that, so I can ask you, what the hell is Parkinson's disease?
Well, it's mainly a disease that you see. It's more in younger people, but you mainly see it in older people. All of us have dopamine in us in our brains that help us move. It helps you do daily movements. And in Parkinson's patients, the dopamine is dying off, so your regular movements are disappearing. It makes things hard to do on some days, but every Parkinson's patient's different. So that's why they're having a hard time curing it.
What did they tell you was going to happen to you over a period of time?
Well, because I'm so young, usually when you're older, it usually happens in individuals that are 60 and up, and it makes you stiff and you can't walk, and a lot of those guys will get pneumonia, and it'll have bad effects on them. But because I'm younger and I stay pretty healthy and I'm active, I have bad days where some days Carissa sees me when we laugh about it, I can't put on my socks. And then other days, like when I'm on medication, you can't even tell that I'd have it, but unless you really know me. So it affects you differently. It's like a roller coaster ride. You never know what the day's going to be like.
Is it like one of those diseases that forever progresses into like, or is it something that so it does progress?
Yeah, he's very much so progressed from when we first found out that's what it was.